welcome back everyone to the Makers Podcast with Brandon Burns and Todd Pedler. How are you?
I'm good, Brandon.
Oh, that's great.
I'm great.
Usually someone says, I'm good, how are you? You know,
It's good.
ask me about me. No, I'm joking. Today we've got a very special guest. I'm excited. I've interviewed her or played a part in her journey being interviewed once before with Birchall. We created a Shark Tank style show called First Look.
Cool.
And she was kind enough to come in and participate in our pilot TV show, which is very exciting.
Cool.
But for those of you listening and watching, she is the founder and dog mum at the Paw Grocer. That's PAW. She's the governor of the Victoria Export Awards 2024 winner. Thank you very much. And she's Women in Export state finalist for the Telstra Best of Business Awards in 2022. Jenny Birchall Richards, how are you?
I'm great. And no relation. You can drop the Birchall.
Oh, okay, sorry. There we go. Oh, of course, yeah. Different spelling.
Different spelling. And I think I ended up on the cutting room floor with that, with that pilot.
Some have said that you are the Carmens of the pet industry in Australia.
Oh,
You know, is that a stretch too far, or is that kind of on point?
wow. Well, I'll take that. But I do know Carolyn, and she'd probably be horrified. But I mean,
not at all.
oh, she's amazing. And I mean, gosh, if I could get anywhere close to that, I'd be absolutely thrilled. What she's done is incredible. But whoever said that, thank you.
I think it was Tom, actually, one of our previous guests.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can I ask, before we get into your journey and where it all started, to give people context, how big is the pet industry, you know, worldwide and even in a small place like Australia? Because I'm guessing that it's probably bigger than Todd and I.
Most people think.
Yeah.
Gosh, you should have given them
When I say
a heads
big,
up on that.
it's obviously-
Look, can I say it's enormous? I mean, and I think the reason that it's very appealing to a lot of people is there are still so many markets opening up.
Really?
Right.
So it's by no means saturated. The US market is mature, but then you've got markets like China that are beating America already, and they are just taking off. They're just getting going. Same with Southeast Asia. So just the opportunities in pet are huge.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's beautiful. I mean, it's so lovely the way that people are, you know, the whole thing of humanization of pets. They're in our beds. They're not in a kennel anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, the opportunities are massive. As to the actual figures, sorry, I'm not
No,
sure.
no. I asked the question because one of our previous guests, you know, Toby Scovron created that Pet Loo product and in a totally different vertical within pet as you. But he talked about how he thought he was, you know, doing great stuff over here, and until he traversed over into that market and realized, oh wow, you know, there's a whole world that I need to become a part of. But that was a while ago. So, you know, now 2024, and you've got this amazing business. I'm intrigued to learn how much people prioritize their spend on products for their pets, because we live in an environment right now which is, you know, cost of living and inflation and all that stuff. I'm guessing people haven't really sacrificed when it comes to their little pooch.
It is an interesting space. They say it's very much in line with spending on babies.
Yep.
So people do not downgrade on quality for their babies, and nor do they for their pets, including cats. Let's not forget our cat friends. But they call it the only recession-proof category because over the decades, you really have never seen it, and fingers crossed and touch wood, you've never seen it take a nosedive. And certainly we're the premium end of the market. And what we're hearing is that whilst pet parents, you know, with the cost of living crisis, unfortunately, there are people who are having to trade down at the very bottom end of the market already, but we're experiencing great growth. And we're really not seeing that slow down at all.
And was there like inflection points like COVID? People were at home. They, you know, obviously the focus was on what was happening in the home. Your pooch or your cat was a big part of that sort of, you know, focus.
Yeah.
Did you see an uptick during COVID, or what happened during that period?
There definitely was. I know that to be true. I hadn't really started trading in any meaningful way at the time.
Okay.
So, yeah, but definitely that contributed to it, because COVID dogs, for sure, it's actually created issues now, because you're seeing a lot of those dogs now, unfortunately, being put into shelters.
Right.
People have realised they can't cope with them. Maybe they can't afford, you know, the cost of the vet visits and so forth. So it has actually created a whole other issue, but very much like there was huge uptake in pets over COVID.
Yeah. We've got a toy cavoodle and we We picked her up, bought her, acquired her. What's the pooch syntax of the protocol? Maybe adopted her.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's nice.
adoption, pooch adoption in 2019, and now the cost of a toy cavoodle is like.
Yeah.
So you made money on your
I
investment.
made money on my investment.
Can you
On
flip
our investment,
poodles?
yes, we did. Good investment. Great returns too.
They're beautiful, aren't they?
They are.
Yeah.
Great
Do you-
amazing temperament.
Gorgeous.
Do you have a favourite dog or breed? I know it's.
Oh, how could I possibly
I
say that?
know. I know.
No, look, I don't. I myself have a cavoodle. He was rehomed to us. He's allegedly a cavoodle. We adore him. We think his body shape isn't necessarily cavoodle, but Charlie is the light of our life. And he's now 12. We got him when he was 3,
Wow. Mhm.
and he's grateful every day of his life. He's just gorgeous. And then we also have a Labradoodle, Daisy, who's 12. And she's the boss of the house and still a bit jealous of Charlie. Do I have a favourite breed? Not at all, honestly. And the deeper I get into this and the more I meet other people's dogs and things, no.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're
that's
all
beautiful.
just gorgeous and they've all got their quirky ways and their personalities.
Yep.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
Can I ask? I want to get to where you came up with the idea for your current business, but I noticed that you once ventured into the franchising world.
Oh, I did.
Yeah. And I have to ask, because it's a very well-known national brand, Boost Juice. Like, what was it like owning a Boost Juice franchise for nearly 10 years? Like, was that exciting at the beginning?
Look, it really was. So I lived in Sydney for 8 years and I've always loved smoothies.
Yeah.
So when this new smoothie brand came out and I was working at ACP and there was a store nearby and I used to walk past at lunchtime and I was fascinated by it because the queues were just huge. And I thought, God, I've got to try this. Anyway, got right into the banana buzzers and
Mine was the King William chocolate.
the King William chocolate. Yeah, I
loved it.
could whip you up one even now.
Yeah.
It's like ingrained.
Would you get in
my-
trouble for doing that?
Probably. So I won't do it. But then I left Sydney, came back to Melbourne, and I think I didn't have the confidence at the time to imagine I could do my own thing, but I really didn't want to sort of work for other people again. So I thought, gosh, maybe I'll look into that Boost Juice idea.
Yeah.
I was really lucky. I was quite early in.
Yeah, 2005, yeah?
Yeah. So it was pretty early. They had just acquired another brand. The name escapes me, but they acquired 5 stores from that person, and I got the Camberwell store.
Good location, yeah?
It was a good location because you want to be near a school.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
school
right, of
kids go
course.
crazy for them.
Yep.
I think what I didn't quite understand is that having a franchise, you're really not working for yourself. Of course, the quality's got to be the same across all stores.
Yeah.
You don't get to choose. I mean, not that I would want to whip up my own recipe, but you certainly can't. You've got to use certain suppliers. You know, you really can't choose your own marketing. So I think what I've realised is that I'm not good at working for other people. And personally, I didn't really enjoy the experience, if I'm honest. And whilst I had that franchise, I had 3 children. So life changed. It became really hard because I think in a franchise business, you need to be there.
Everyone says that.
Yeah, you do.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it really isn't a case of,
Lifestyle.
I didn't find it to be the case.
Can it be rewarding? Because you had it for 10 years, right? So, or is it all hinged upon when you sell and when you get out, if you sell well?
Sell well.
Yeah, is that?
Yeah, I would say so. I
Yeah.
mean, there were a lot of promotions. I don't love that model.
Yeah.
I call it the country road model
Yeah.
because I think people don't buy anything full price. They wait for the promotions and we had promotions all the time. So that really eroded away
And
the profit.
is that business cyclic, as people would assume it to be? Or do you have the staunch, supporters, as you said, school kids after school, and it's the continuation of a certain, customers always returning, or is it more cyclic than people realise?
It's incredibly based on weather. To this day, I'm obsessed with weather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every day
Yeah.
you lived and died by the weather.
Wow.
Yeah. And it would be insane and so hard in Victoria,
Mm.
as you can imagine.
Yep.
You can have a day that's 20 degrees and you're sending everyone home,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the next day it's 35
Yep.
and you can't get enough staff.
Mhm.
Yep.
So it was, it's tricky
Yep.
business to run.
Yeah.
But look, I just feel like everything I've done over the journey, ultimately has given me different sets of skills.
Yep.
So I certainly don't regret it. And I met some great people through that too.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Having a boost for 10 years, that's impressive.
Thank you.
Because like what you said about having to be repeatable, that means you can't have an off day with your energy or your input or your enthusiasm, because it has to, you know. What could I just ask on that before we get to the Paw Grocer? Would Boost Juice work as well in another country like America or Europe as it does here? Or to face more competition? Or are there 100 others just like it?
Well, I guess that it was, from my understanding, Janine Alice had the idea, having been in America and seen Jamba Juice.
Jamba Juice, yeah. Yep.
So, look, I think that space is probably quite saturated now. I think that they have successfully, though, repeated the model in Asian countries, some Asian countries and so forth. I don't think you would take on America. And I'm not sure if they went to Europe with it, but I think that there's a few core brands now doing that really well. So it's probably not something you get into. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of matcha. Is it matcha?
Yep.
Matcha drinks that seem to be really taking off, and that's interesting.
I thought during COVID, what was the bubble tea thing?
Oh, yeah. I think
there was
that's
a company
still
on
big.
Birchall that raised a lot of money.
Yeah, there was.
Bubble tea
Yeah.
on Birchall.
They did, yeah. It was two. They made an amazing crowdfunding video, 2 young girls and ladies, and it was brilliant.
Okay.
Yeah, but I've never had a bubble tea.
I have. They're great.
They are they?
They're good.
Don't get the sugar.
I was going to say, they're not very healthy, are they?
I'm not sure, but yeah. No, they are good.
So you finish up Boost Juice. What was the aha moment? I mean, you've obviously realised, okay, can't work for anyone else, got to work for myself. Love pets, love dogs. But where did this aha moment occur for the Paw Grocer to be born?
So there was a step in between. I suppose for quite a few years, I was lucky enough to be able to stay home with kids, which was quite important to me until they were sort of up and running. So I did that. But then I started getting bored and I wanted to do something from home. So I set up an Amazon business. It was selling small electronics just in the US market. So it was things like wireless chargers and when that was all just coming in.
Yes.
So again, now it's obviously completely saturated.
So you're sourcing it, you're selling from here, but your shop and your sourcing is?
Sourcing from China, direct into the USA. And actually I had quite a cool brand that my nephew at the time helped me decide upon. It was called Volt, VOLTZ.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happened to it now, but
so that was lucrative. That was,
yeah. I think also a lesson I learned from that was, you know, I sort of thought I'd start selling and all of a sudden, like within 3 months, I'd be making a fortune. I honestly think to this day, if I'd held on to that for like 3 to 5 years, it would have been worth a fortune.
Really?
But
so that was timing. That was a timing.
Yeah, it was getting in early with the wireless chargers.
So is that not what they call drop shipping, or is it a form of, or what's the?
Oh, look, it's similar. I suppose the difference is with drop shipping, you don't hold any stock. So, you know, Todd buys something and then I say to my Chinese shipper, ship it to Todd's address. Whereas with me, I had bulk stock sitting in the Amazon warehouses.
Okay. So it still wasn't in your warehouse, it was in Amazon's warehouse. Yeah.
I mean, you can have a 3PL with those models, but for me, being tiny and then setting up a 3PL, it wasn't worth it.
And for listeners, 3PL, third-party logistics.
Sorry, yes, that's exactly
so did you have to order a big batch at times?
Look, I didn't know. At the time, I didn't. Right. I think the big difference is now that if you're trying to do something like that, that quite rightly, the Chinese manufacturers have realised the opportunity.
Sure, yeah.
And they're doing their own stores. So therefore, they're cutting out that middleman. So very hard to get in now.
What period of time was this? When was this?
Golly, I want to say around 2016 for a couple of years.
Yeah, okay.
Does that make sense to you?
I mean, I think you're probably a bit late to the
okay.
Maybe the event horizon, but
we are backwards in Australia, but we take forever to adopt things, don't you reckon?
Yeah, you're right. I think, it's 8 years ago now, so it is a while ago. But yeah, I think maybe 2012 to 2014 was really early, long before drop shipping. Interesting. So how did you deal with you've got a consumer in another country, like returns, or did you have any issues there? I mean,
I didn't.
No.
At the time, no. Amazon are very clear. Like, I think that's why we love dealing with Amazon. They make it really easy with returns and stuff. We didn't get many. There wasn't a lot to deal with in that regard.
Yep.
But it was as part of having the Amazon business, there were all these incredible research tools that you could pay for. And I was always ferreting around looking in other sectors. And I just was looking at the numbers in pet and thinking, my God, it's just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then just, I mean, as a dog mum and, having a legitimate reason to get into pet, I started looking into it, I guess. And then my Labradoodle, Daisy, she had an ongoing undiagnosed digestive issue.
Mm-hmm.
So I started taking a really deep dive into nutrition.
Yep.
I'm pretty focused on that for my family, my human family. So it's sort of an area of interest. And those two things sort of converged and became really obvious. Freeze drying is fascinating because it just removes the water content. You keep the nutrients and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
It's shelf stable, even though really it's raw.
Yep.
So it's just an incredible way to create treats.
Yep.
So we're stumbling across a theme here that's quite unique to a mum, that, you had time at home and you had time to think creatively and maybe at a bit more macro level about what opportunities could be out there. Like, are you grateful for that time almost because it allowed you to stop and think about all these different avenues?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I really wouldn't. I mean, I always laugh that I started the business after I turned 50, and I've always been a bit slow to the party with everything I do. And sometimes I wish I was a bit sort of faster, but then I think no, because, as I said earlier, everything I've done has led to this point. So I've really picked up a lot of skill sets along the way.
Yeah.
And also a big thing about starting a business later is so many of my friends are amazing, like what they've achieved.
Yeah.
So,
can draw upon them.
contacts and absolutely. And one thing leads to another, and I've really found that. So, I look at these young founders and think, wow, I mean, they're amazing. They don't have that infrastructure readily in their friendship group.
Yes. Yep.
So, I've been really fortunate that I took my time enough. I have truly found my passion now. I just love it. I mean, I wasn't interested in small electronics.
Yeah.
So,
but the margins were great.
The margins are great. But
so you've had a look around on Amazon and other opportunities, and you discovered pets, but then you describing how you've got a couple of edges or points of difference to your product with the freeze drying and the raw element of it. So could you compare that to another product in market that doesn't possess those competitive advantages and how it's been like a real game changer for you to be able to create leverage for doing what you're doing?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I should very quickly point out that I certainly wasn't the first to do freeze-dried treats, and I won't be the last. A lot of people entering the space. But I think a point of difference for me also, just sticking to the freeze-dries point before we move on to competitors, is that I just looked at the packaging and I thought it's really same. Nothing appealed to my eye. And I thought, wow, I wonder if there's room for doing something really different that, everyone loves their white kitchen and their fancy laundries. And, could we do something that's more like a coffee brand? So really clean, really white. And so that's how I sort of started with my branding, was looking at it. I tend to look for inspiration from other sectors, not from people in this sort of competitive set. So that was a big thing for me. I think that caught people's eye. But as to what other people are doing and how it's different, look, the pet sector remains quite problematic. You can really churn out just absolute rubbish and put things on the pack that aren't necessarily 100% true, which doesn't sit very well with me.
Yep.
So, just really highly processed, a lot of it. And look, there's room for all of that. But I think that even if you can only afford to buy a pack of freeze-dried treats every now and again, you're really doing your animal a huge favour because of the fantastic nutrition.
Yep.
And they go crazy for it. I mean, people call it kitty crack or crack for dogs, and because they smell it. I'll give you some, Tod, for your cavoodle.
I'll give you some, Tod.
Having talked about crack, I'll give it some.
What's the typical reaction people see in their pet once they've tried one of your treats?
Oh, look, it's such joy. And every day, seriously, every single day, I get the most fantastic reviews, and some of them are hilarious.
Really?
So we have cats breaking into cupboards. One woman, and I was curious about this. I didn't ask the question, but she wrote to me and she said that she kept the treats in her underwear drawer. which was curious, but her cat had managed to get into the underwear drawer. So, yeah. So we actually...
in different ways you could describe that.
I'm not going there. But no, I get the most fantastic reviews. And honestly, they keep me going because, people will say, oh, since we started buying your salmon bellies, which are Tasmanian salmon, for goodness sake, everything is human grade. They'll say, oh, since I swapped your treats, my dog, it had skin problems or its coat was dull. It's been a massive turnaround. Or, cat customers, I don't like to say they're fussy, they're discerning customers. And that really, when you get good feedback from cats, you really know that you've struck a chord. Yeah.
So the journey from the ideation or concept through to, I guess it was a period of prototyping you went through. Like, how do you contact a fisher of salmon and saying, no, human grade salmon is okay. What restaurant group are you calling from? No, this is for a dog treat. And at what point do they hang up in disgust? Or what's that? Maybe just segment that part of how you went and sourced the ingredients.
Well, it's a funny story, and I love reflecting on it because it does remind me how far we've come. So I should start by saying I've got a very tolerant husband, and I remember mocking up what I thought I loved in the packaging and sending it to him and my sister, and my sister's got a really good eye for design. And they're like, oh, it's good. It's really good.
Interesting.
It's interesting. It's interesting. And then actually Tom very kindly from Emma and Tom's put me onto his designer, who's still my designer today, and he brought that to life. But as for how I got going with the, procurement and the freeze drying, again, the same person is my freeze dryer now. And I literally rang him and I was like, hi, it's Jenny from the Paw Grocer Tree Company. I'm keen to get some freeze drying done. And you could almost hear him going, oh God. But he was very tolerant. He was so kind. And he did a very small minimum run. And I think from memory, he helped me acquire the first.
Okay.
Perhaps he was acquiring it for someone else and just added 5 kilos of something.
Yeah.
And look, it went from there. I don't know. It's funny to think back.
What is the freeze drying process look like?
So look, it's really simple for me to stand and look at.
Yeah.
So the salmon bellies, for example, they arrive. It is the beautiful bit of belly on the bottom of the fish, but it retains the fin. So when it's freeze dried, it's crunchy. So that's our biggest seller. When that arrives, it goes on a tray, goes in the freeze dry machine. It's in there for however many hours, comes out and it's done. That is the process.
So it's an hourly process. It's not.
Well, it goes for many hours, but
it's not like days and days.
No, not at all. And that's why it's really simplistic, and we can do the just-in-time model, as far as manufacturing. But it goes in frozen, and there is a process called sublimation. I will let you Google it because if I try to explain it, I believe
ice to gas.
Thank you. Without going to liquid first.
Correct.
Thank you. How do you know this?
Sublimation. I just know it.
Oh, there you go. You listened in science at school. I did not. So sublimation. So, and it's really as simple as that. And that's why the process is just incredible. There's just nothing added, fresh as can be. And it literally does remain raw, but you can keep it on the shelf sealed for 2 years.
Is it a process that can scale? Like,
yes.
You can. Okay.
Yes. And, the person I work with, he is scaling as we scale. He's been an amazing partner. And for that, I'm very grateful. There is probably room for more freeze drying in Australia, as people understand.
So you're doing that here in Melbourne?
It's in Tassie.
Tassie, okay.
Yeah, so we ship everything to Tassie.
Wow, okay.
And to your point of restaurant quality, our duck, which is in our black label products, that is actually from Lover Duck, who do supply Peking duck and things for restaurants. So it's that good quality.
Yeah, great. Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So does that include... so you mentioned a concept there called just in time, but for our listeners, could you explain that? Because that sounds like a competitive edge as well, that you can do that.
It is. Yeah. It is. And at the moment, we run really lean. So there's me, and then I have Simon, who is my incredible COO. He does all of our operations, logistics, procurement. He follows me up because I need a lot of following up. He's very patient. He's fantastic.
Like an EA.
He's amazing. He's an EA on steroids, but it's incredible. So he's terrific. And then there's my long-suffering husband who really, I mean, look, honestly, he's pretty much full-time in the business now.
Yep.
We are really needing more people. But with the just-in-time, we're really lean. So we don't have our own manufacturing. We outsource our packing, our shipping. So the beauty, again, with freeze drying is we obviously buy the pallet.
Yep.
Pallets.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it can stay frozen.
And do you package it after you receive it? Do you have a separate process for that?
Well, so it comes in frozen,
Mm-hmm.
goes into the freeze dryers,
Yes.
comes out bulk,
Mm-hmm.
gets shipped to the mainland.
Mm-hmm.
We pack, and then honestly, we do not sit it on stock. So
Yeah,
it's
wow.
in and it's out.
Wow.
But occasionally, and I mean, we've really had to weather the storm of the COVID pricing, raw materials for us. The price of things like lamb hearts just went crazy through the roof.
Really?
And we've just absorbed all that. We can't pass that on to customers. So occasionally, if there's like someone will reach out and say, well, we've got 2 pallets of lamb hearts that were meant to be exported. And that's another problem is export market for offal has gone crazy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Predominantly to the Asian markets. So that's really put the pricing up. But if there's an opportunity to buy some pallets of something at a really good price, we can store it frozen for a
So
couple
you've
of
got
years.
that ability to be creative and be
and
opportunistic.
Yeah, absolutely. And then look, at the moment, we really, I mean, because Coles is a customer and we've also had Big W for about 6 months, and you can imagine they buy the pallet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we're really not sitting on anything. We are just flat stick keeping up.
Yep.
So, but you can handle much, much more.
Yes.
So what's the biggest risk? Is the biggest risk Tasmanian salmon not becoming available anymore, or?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, it was the same for
I
sure.
guess.
But could like a natural disaster or a weather event impact, or not necessarily, or?
Yeah, look, absolutely it could.
Yeah.
Absolutely it could. But we are careful to have more than one supplier for everything.
Gotcha. So that's a big part of your strategy, yeah?
Yeah. We are really aware that, of course, I mean, and I think COVID, if you weren't aware of those sort of risks, it's really cemented it.
There was a really big food distribution or a company that went into VA today, I think, in Australia somewhere, yeah. They're talking about how a lot of farmers will be owed money and...
Oh, I did hear that on the news.
Yeah, I'm not sure who in particular it was, but these are all the things you have to think about, aren't they? Like
absolutely.
proactively diversifying your suppliers.
Mm.
And what did you say before? You said that you absorbed the increase in pricing of...
Yeah, we did.
You didn't pass it on to the consumer?
Look, we didn't. And I think that...
Very noble.
Well, noble, or we didn't have a choice.
Yeah. Oh, so the strategy there is don't change anything for the customer?
I think, well, look, and when you're in Coles, look,
Okay.
it's a long process. And obviously everyone was applying for those. You had to apply to put your price up. We are really the most premium brand in there already.
Yeah, okay.
So to put your price up at that time would have been risky. So we just decided to sit it out. Prices have come back for us. And obviously as we scale, we get, the economies of scale with pricing. But we're always looking, how can we claw back some margin? And, that's forefront in our mind. And look, one of my investors who's also a terrific mentor, he's all about margins and he refocuses me constantly because I'm very excitable. I'm always looking for the next thing, the next product, but he's all about margins. So he brings me back.
So your direct-to-market consumer model is retailers. Do you do any online sales at all?
We do.
You do?
And that's growing really fast.
Okay.
Really fast. We know there's still a lot of headroom when we look at the figures and what other people are doing, but it's really scaling quickly.
Mm-hmm. And where's the majority buyer from? Is it domestically or is it international? Or?
Domestic for D2C, yes. At the moment, we do have some export markets.
Mm-hmm.
But our D2C is all Aussie, pretty much. I mean, we get the odd order from here and there, but yeah.
When you have this business working as it does now, how do you temper your, not distraction, but how do you temper your want to pursue 4 or 5 new streams or new ideas or new ways to diversify your products? Because obviously when you have success, you're like, okay, well, it would really work if I did this and this and this. And so many have done that and oh no.
Yeah.
That nearly brought down the whole house of cards. But so how do you have like an internal system where you and your team maybe rate ideas before you get too excited?
No, I don't ask. I really don't. Look, I don't. I love that whole creative process, and I'm constantly looking overseas at what the trends are and getting super excited. And to your point, what stops me is it's cash flow. Simple as that.
Yep.
Honestly, at this point in time. So as you get bigger, like it's so exciting every time we get, something new. It's super exciting. But then you go, oh, now we've got to produce everything and then sit on that stock for a period of time whilst it's going into the pipeline.
Yep.
So slow and steady. I've got a million things in my NPD file and always adding to it. So in my own mind, though, I have to sit and go, okay, look, that's sensational, but it might be, and we're probably already a little bit at the pointy end of pet nutrition. So I see all sorts of amazing things, but maybe they're a bit too premium, a bit too expensive. So I try and bring myself back to reality.
What's the testing process for a pet product? Do you have paw testing protocols or like, I mean, how do you know, well, we're going to add salmon?
Yeah.
Dogs love salmon. Do they? I mean, how does one approach that, I guess, the unknown?
The process.
How do you validate the treat is has an insatiable appetite?
Is it based on how fast the tail wags?
Pretty much.
How long it wags for? Or...
It just stays up.
I'm just fascinated. I'm just thinking, like, for humans, we get immediate feedback. No, it's crap. No, it's wonderful. But, you're dealing with our feline, canine friends and feline friends.
And feline friends. Look, I mean, seriously, it's very easy for me. I've got our Chief Tasting Officer, Charlie.
Chief Tasting
yeah,
on
he's the CTO. Yeah, no, he literally is.
There's a few CTOs who wouldn't appreciate that. That's vital.
So he's our CTO. Daisy is our CEO, which is Chief Excited Officer.
So got it all down pat.
Yeah, and they do sit on the org chart. Absolutely. If ever I present to anyone, they're in there because they're really important. And look, the truth is, we received bags of samples of new proteins up from Tassie recently, and they're in really thick plastic.
Okay.
And my mistake was that I left them by the front door for a couple of days, and they're very much like toddlers. And I think Charlie's not next to me, and he's been real quiet. So
he sniffed him out.
He had, and he was chowing down on a pork product that we're looking to launch. He had broken into the thick plastic bag and was helping himself. So I think it's fair to say that'll be a goer. But look, honestly, obviously I do a heap of research. I speak to nutritionists and stuff to make sure that it is appropriate for animals. I take that incredibly seriously. I mean, to animals through my treats would be my worst nightmare. So we're very, very careful what we choose. But look, it's I mean, also looking at what else is out there in the market, but I'm really interested in, we call them novel proteins, and they are quite literally novel in the sense that the animals probably haven't tried it before, they haven't eaten it. And it is a growth opportunity because so many animals, because they're fed constantly on processed food, they develop sensitivities, funny tummies, same as humans, really. Over-processed food is no good. So pet parents are often looking for the novel proteins. So animals don't tend to have a bad reaction to things like emu or goat or other proteins they've not tried before. So it's a growth opportunity there. So we're always looking at things like that. But quite honestly, it is trialling it on.
Trial and error.
Yeah. And, I tend to trial things online. And if it's not a hit online, then you probably go, oh, okay, well, look, but people are buying it. But I mean, I haven't had this experience yet. But, if there was something that didn't take off, we wouldn't take it any further than online.
So if you had to get a crystal ball and you could look forward 10 years, where would you like it to be, or where do you hope for it to be?
In 10 years' time, look, I would love to think that we will be acquired one day. And it's not because I don't adore the brand. I'd love to stay involved in things, but I can only grow it to a certain stage. And I really would love to see these beautiful Australian products everywhere.
Yeah. And that's okay to acknowledge that the plan is acquisition.
Yeah.
I think more entrepreneurs need to verbalize that. Yeah. Because you're right. Everyone probably would worry, oh, does that mean people think I've checked out and I'm not passionate about my business? And it's actually acknowledging you know what you know. And
I want to share.
Toby kind of said the same thing in his episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. But how did you know that the business can go to hopefully that point, but that you need help getting there? Like, how do you discover that? Because as an entrepreneur, you kind of want to solve every problem and take on every challenge.
And look, as we really are scaling fast. And I'm already starting to feel panicked. You often hear founders say the best time of their life was when it was scrappy.
Yep.
And you were literally doing everything.
Yes.
So I guess that day will come, good luck. I'll find some amazing partners to take us further. But, I'm a little bit scared about it too, because I'm thinking, oh gosh, I love this day to day. I'm on customer care. I'm answering emails. I'm on Instagram and I guess I would have to step away from that. So it's, you feel a bit torn. And how did I know? Look, I didn't know. I was thrilled when I sold my first packet of chicken wing tips, and probably it was girlfriend who bought them. I was so stoked with that. So the fact that we've got to where we are, it's just constant. I think every day, and I've heard this from other really successful entrepreneurs, because all I do incessantly is listen to founder podcasts like yours. I get so much from each and every. I'm obsessed. But it's incremental, little tiny improvements every single day, including Saturdays and Sundays. There's no rest for the
it's constant
founders. Yeah. But you've just got to constantly be thinking, what can I do today to just move the needle just that teeny weeny bit? And I think a lot of it is, and it goes against my nature, but if people reach out for coffee or something, for goodness sake, go. You just don't know. One thing leads to another, and it might not happen immediately. You might.
That's really good advice. Just on that alone, you don't know where the founder journey that you're the person iterating and creating, but the people you meet on the way. Never say no, even if you think it's the most outlandish, remote thing possible from where you currently might be based as a business, what they could potentially become in the future that you don't even realize because of, you may have to pivot, or because of a growth, inclination in the business, they become front and center. All of a sudden you go, wow, I was really lucky I met them back then. So it's a great point.
No, it's been really important, the power of networking.
Is there anything exciting to announce or share or that's on the roadmap for you guys that, we're coming up to Christmas as well, which I know is a busy time of year, no doubt for you, or is it? I mean, maybe it is.
Frantic. Yeah.
It is. Is it because people buy treats year round, don't they?
They do, but again, when you can take into consideration Coles and Big W, they buy a huge amount.
Because more people are shopping in general,
And they close down their DCs for a period of time, so they want to have lots of backup. And so, look, that's a really, really busy time for us. And look, it is exciting. I love doing seasonal treats, so I get sick of looking at my packaging as soon as I've designed it. I'm like, oh, I wish I could do something fresh, which I can't. So I do my seasonal treats. So we've done Christmas. We did something specifically for Pet Barn again this year. So it's got all the Christmas decorations on it. I've done something for our website, something that's really exciting that we're launching for Chinese or Lunar New Year, for the Year of the Snake next year. We've done a gorgeous red and gold limited edition pack, which will be in Australia in limited numbers, but it's also going to Hong Kong and Singapore and things. So that's super exciting.
Wow. What colour packaging?
It's bright red.
Bright red?
Yeah, bright red for the, Lunar New Year. Yep. So it's something really different. So I love doing all the seasonal. We do Valentine's Day, we do Easter, because everyone's embracing all of that for pets.
They are.
Yeah.
Definitely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the team before, but how do you differentiate and market via marketing and branding? And do you do social media, or do you, is that important?
It is. I'm really lucky with my social media insofar as Instagram is where I get the gorgeous consumer. Call it.
User-generated content. Yeah,
Thank you. User-generated content.
I didn't even think about that. So that's a win if they're creating it for you.
Oh, and they are, because let's face it, we all love showing off our dogs and cats.
That's a brilliant strategy. Really hard, but it comes down to people falling in love with the actual product and wanting to share their experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But you're absolutely right. The UCG, user-generated, UGC approach is, if you can attain it and actually scale that, and then it has the inward effect of others seeing, others posting, and then kudos to you if you can actually pull it off.
Well,
the holy grail for everyone.
For
really.
everyone. Yeah. And look, I'd love to take credit for it, but I think all I can say is that we've built a really raving community of people that because they see, quite honestly, how good the treats are. I mean, it's just as simple as that.
Yep.
So there has been no strategy around that.
Yep.
It rolls in every day.
Fantastic. Wow.
And so I'm incredibly fortunate. And then I've got a terrific agency who look after my Facebook advertising, and that's really what drives our D2C.
Yeah.
And they come up with my creatives for that. And that's really, again, from the UGC.
Yeah.
They pull the creatives from what our gorgeous community provide. So
How good's that?
Wow.
oh, it's incredible. It really is. And as I say, I mean, quite often just because I get these reviews that make me giggle, so I just share them.
Yeah.
And occasionally I'll get a really rude one. I mean, it's never about the quality of the product. It's just, I got one this morning where the person said, "Oh, my 3 dogs and cat all hate it, and it was a waste of money." I mean, that's 1 in 500 reviews. So sometimes I'll share those so people understand I'm being really authentic.
Human.
Totally.
Yeah, occasionally someone just goes, yuck.
No, I have to ask, not that we'd recommend for human consumption. However, are these treats almost good enough that you could taste test, or, a human could almost eat these themselves? Like, I think I saw a business overseas going off because their whole marketing was, we make treats good enough for humans, but for dogs.
Absolutely.
I mean, it sounds like you've almost done that as well, yeah?
We 100% have, in the sense that our accountant says if ever there's a zombie apocalypse, he's coming to our warehouse because he knows that we've got... And
the salmon tail.
Yeah, the salmon tail. But honestly, they look good enough to eat, and they are. So it's, we've got the best of the salmon suppliers in Tassie. And as long as you cooked it, absolutely, you could eat it. All of our the duck hearts. I had someone who's actually quite well known, but I won't give him away. But he left me a message saying, "My dog went mad for your treats," and he said, "Oh, the duck heart, the duck liver," and he said, "In fact, all of your treats is all of my favourite stuff at my local Chinese restaurant." So, no, look, it is quite literally good enough to eat. And when we were invited by one of the government departments to attend the Chinese International Import Expo in Shanghai last year, which was a blast, and quite a few of the consumers there were taking samples and actually eating it.
Yep.
So, 100%. When I say it's human grade, I really mean it.
Yeah. Wow.
There you go. Well, anything
You
else?
asked the question.
I did. Oh, I feel like maybe we should be sampling it right now.
I've got some in my bag for you.
Oh, look out. Do you want to grab me just to show on camera? Because I'd love for people to see.
I think we should actually.
Sure.
Yeah.
So this is a very she black label. I almost gave it away. There was the most delightful homeless man with his dog out the front down here, and I almost gave it away, but maybe I'll show it to you and go and give it to him after.
Yeah.
So,
emu meat. Wow.
So that's the black label packaging that's in Pet Barn.
Yep.
Yeah.
The range that's in Big W and Coles is in a white.
Yes.
Oh, look at that.
So there we go.
Emu meat. What's the super thing or ingredient in emu?
Well, the key thing is that is one of our novel proteins. So it's not been eaten by most dogs.
Yeah.
Pretty much guaranteed.
Yeah.
But it's very low in fat, high in protein. There's a lot of benefits.
And how much would that packet retail for?
Just under $20. I think it's $19.95.
And you just give one treat a day or a couple of treats a day, or?
Look, it depends what you're using it for. I mean, they're terrific toppers as well. So if you are a committed kibble feeder, for example, and you just want to mix it up a bit for your dog, you can sprinkle a little bit on top of their meal to, make it more interesting. Because of the smell for the dogs, you can use it for training. They're fantastic training treats. So people use them in different ways. I think the salmon bellies are used in quite a medicinal way. So they're on average about that size. So 1 per day is just terrific for their joints, heart health, skin health.
Yep.
And that sort of thing. So
great.
Yeah.
Love it. Anything else to add before we wrap up, Jenny Richards?
Well, I would love to say thank you so much for having me. And I am a committed listener.
Oh, yes. One of the 10. Thank you.
Everyone who's been on here listens. No, it's sensational. And
20.
I'm so grateful for your time. And it's a thrill to see you again, Brandon, and meet you, Tod.
Love it.
Likewise.
Can't wait to see how this pans out next side of Christmas and beyond. It's going to be awesome.
Thank you.
Great.